Hey guys, this is Roxy Comics, and I'm doing another live video today. My voice is not cooperating. Sorry about that. So I'm going to be starting here pretty shortly. I'm still setting up my desktop so I can see any comments that come in. But if you have any questions as I'm working here, feel free to post them, and I'll try and get around to everybody. Um, Otherwise, I'm just going to be kind of talking through what I'm doing. Right now, I am working on another watercolor background postcard slash print for my patrons. So we'll see how this goes. I want to try and do one of Marcine this week. So I'm just going to kind of start with my first layer here. This is the layer that would be the blue pencil if I were working on paper. No, it's red right now because the background is kind of a purple to teal gradient, and red just shows up better than blue would. I'm using Krita, which is the same program that I have used for about the last over a year now, probably closer to 2 years, ever since I got rid of my Mac and couldn't use Photoshop anymore. Um, I switched to Krita, which is a free version, effectively, of Photoshop. It has a lot of the same functionality, and it works really well for everything I use it for, which is basically just this comic and some freelance projects. Um, so I'm really enjoying this program. I am using my favorite pencil brush for this, which is basically just a pressure sensitive like ink pen brush that has a little bit of a transparency to it. So it feels kind of like working in either pencil or like ballpoint pen. I always think of like sketching in my school notebooks and stuff, and this is sort of similar to how that felt. Mm, Gonna kind of get everything sort of laid out here. Um, this is a little more detail than I would normally go into for penciling. I think it's because I need some practice drawing Marcine, because I just don't draw her as often as Roxy, so it's a little harder to get her consistent. I meant to do this video much earlier in the day, but my new puppy takes up a lot of my time right now, so it's kind of hard to actually sit down and make a video, and also hard to like predict when I will be able to do that. So I apologize for the short notice on this one too. Let's see, what should I have her doing? Drinking tea, maybe, or actually, I'm gonna erase this out. I think I've changed my mind. Yeah, I didn't have really like a solid plan when I started this either, so you're kind of just seeing me sort of work out what to do for a drawing from like absolute step one here. Mm. I'm gonna move her a little bit. Also, apologies if you can hear my puppy in the next room. The neighbor's dog is barking, and I think that might have woken her up. So for pencils, I tend to be not very detailed. I'll try and get shapes as close to final as I can, but I know that a lot's going to change between now and or the final line drawing, I guess. So I kind of just try and like use basic shapes to figure out like the positioning of her arms and just like her stance. Make sure I have the proportions correct. Which looks like I'm pretty close now. she's a bit chestier than this. So I'm gonna kind of mark that real quick before I move on. Hope everybody's doing well. I know times are not the best right now. And to me, like I have been spending more time on, YouTube and just the internet in general than ever. So it's nice to have like new video content to put out. Hello, hey Nate. Getting some comments in now. Usually takes a while for a few people to start viewing the videos. And as always, if you guys have any questions for me, you can feel free to leave them in the comments, and I'll try and get around to them in the course of this video. Otherwise, I'm just gonna be sort of rambling and talking you through the process of what I'm doing. I'm bumping down the opacity on this sort of pencil layer so that it doesn't distract me when I'm working on the final line work. Okay, so I basically have the composition down. Although I'm actually going to add one more thing, which is a butterfly. I'm just going to kind of draw a basic shape for now. I want to develop Marcine more as a character. I feel like I've neglected her a little bit over the course of making my comic. I kind of picture her as being sort of new agey and nature, uh, not obsessed, but like naturey in general. So whenever I draw her solo, I try to make it like apparent that she is sort of spiritual and she likes like very natural and green things. Trying to get her jawline right. Hello, Oscar. Thank you for joining us. I'm always grateful when people watch my videos. Hopefully at some point I can start making, more of these and reaching a wider audience. But I don't know. I'm still kind of getting used to the idea of doing video on the regular, so it's kind of hard for me to like come up with topics to keep you guys entertained while I draw. Hopefully I'm not lapsing into silence too often here. I think I need to make this brush a little bit smaller. There we go. Sometimes I'll be a little bit messy with my line work. I'll have to come back in here and erase the overlaps and sort of awkward shapes that occur. So this is actually the same background as I used for the last one. I created a new one today, but unfortunately it is taking forever to dry, so I will probably replace the background in the final, but I just needed a placeholder for this one, and was running out of time. Didn't want to get a bunch of water on my scanner. So I did make it a different color though. I added this blue and green layer over top of it that just sort of acts as an overlay and gives it this gradient. What should I have her wearing? I'm gonna do something kind of detailed and interesting. I tend to draw the characters in t-shirts a lot, and that tends to be like, I don't know, I feel like it gets boring after a while. My characters are kind of like uncosplayable, which is not great for comics. I kind of wish, looking back, that I had like settled on more of a uniform for Roxy and Marcine especially. So that would just be like an instantly recognizable look that they could have, as opposed to just like every week they have a slightly different pair of outfits. I put her in a dress this time. Hmm. Yeah, I always like watching people's creative processes in videos. I watch a lot of I've been watching cooking videos lately, and any of like those sort of no talking like cooking tutorials that just sort of show the step-by-step process where like you go through your list of ingredients and it just shows like a sped up video of like all the different steps for making like raspberry tarts or whatever. um, those have been sort of a fun relaxing thing to watch, and kind of inspired me to try cooking some different things this year. I know I've been cooking a lot more since quarantine started, and I imagine a lot of people have. Like, I don't know what to do with this dress design. I'm gonna give her a belt. I'm gonna rotate the canvas here real quick so that I can get the angle right. I'm actually gonna add a second layer too for the line work. So I can go over top like that and just erase out what I don't want without having to worry about erasing the line underneath it. I create a lot of layers that later I merge into one when I'm working on these things. It's just easier for me, I think, than having to keep everything on a single layer. Let's see, should I do just like a round buckle or should I do something fancy? I'm gonna go back down to my pencil layer and select that red color again. Kind of trying to figure this out. This is another reason I wish I had more of a uniform for my characters. I have to kind of play fashion designer on a weekly basis with them, like trying to come up with new outfits and stuff, as opposed to just doing what I would normally do. Hmm. I'm also looking for commission work right now. I have a couple of freelance projects going, but I sort of am at a point where I always kind of want to have something on the back burner to get to when I'm done with my current project. So if anybody is looking for commissions, or if you know anybody who is, please feel free to reach out to me on the Facebook page or anywhere else you follow me on social media. Um, I'm generally online a lot, so I try to be good about responding to people's messages. Especially on the Facebook page. I tend to lapse a little bit with like the Reddit and stuff just because I'm not on there as often. But I'm always looking for commission work in some shape or form. So if you are ever in the market, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Hmm. Hmm. I I think I would love to see like somebody cosplay as Roxy. That would be so cool. Like there are certain things where like as a comic artist you feel like if you achieve this then like you've arrived in some way shape or form. Like you, even if you're not like super famous, if someone cares enough about your ip to cosplay it or to make a costume based on it, like that's just awesome. um, oh my god, I cannot get this line right. I need to rotate again. I will occasionally just suffer from something I like to call stupid hands. Like, I know how to draw this character. I've drawn her many times. For some reason today, my hands just don't want to do what my brain tells them to do. I think this is probably a universal or almost universal artist experience. Like, it's very frustrating. This will probably be kind of a short video. I need to call it quits at 4:30 because I am having a video chat with a friend of mine. Don't get to actually hang out in person really anymore, so it's important that I remember to keep these little like Facebook Live or FaceTime hangouts. Ugh, I can't talk today. So this is what happens when I try to make these videos when I've been like sleep deprived for the better part of a week. I've been running after a little puppy dog and trying to, you know, keep her from treating me as a chew toy and peeing all over my house. So that's been more or less taking up all of my time that I wasn't able to spend on the comic this week. And I'm not really a morning person by nature, so having to adjust to my new wake up time of like 6:20 in the morning has been somewhat of a challenge for me. Although it's kind of nice because I always feel like I've wasted my day if I sleep in too much, so at least that's not a problem I have anymore. That is a ridiculously tiny mouth that I just gave her. I'm gonna erase that and try again. Is that too big? That's a little better. I should give her some little eyelids here. I find that giving like a slightly closed eye has the effect of making the character look relaxed um, without making them look like they're glaring at something or like they're sleepy. Never want to go too far in that direction. I think I'll give her long sleeves. There's always someone in the comments who speaks Spanish, and I really regret not retaining more of the Spanish that I learned in high school because I would love to be able to speak Spanish with you guys. I can understand and like read more than I can speak, but if I try to speak, like I'm just gonna butcher it. So, um, apologies for my Spanish speaking viewers. I may have to open up some Duolingo and try to relearn some stuff. Because I would like to be able to be fluent in a foreign language. I know like a little bit of several different languages, but I wouldn't say I'm fluent in anything except English. I know like a little bit of Japanese, a little bit of French, a little bit of Spanish, and like bits and pieces of German and like just like 2 or 3 words in like Swedish. Um, Languages are one of those things that I like to study when I'm like stressed. It was one of like the school subjects that actually I was pretty good at when I was still in high school and could kind of enjoy learning. I got good grades in school, but I was never like a huge fan of school, if that makes any sense. Like I would struggle to pay attention in class, and I would spend a lot of my time like doodling in notebooks and stuff, which got me in trouble a couple times, but I don't know. I ended up making a career-ish out of it, so sort of you could argue that it paid off to the extent that being an artist ever pays off. Give her some like, few little strands of hair here. One of the most useful things I think I've learned about drawing since starting a webcomic is you never have to draw like 100% of, the hair strands or the leaves or whatever. Like, often your drawing will look better if you do like line work that is suggestive of what it is rather than like go in and try to draw every individual strand like that. If you do like 20% of them, it has a nice like stylized cartoonish effect, which is good for this comic in particular. I'm gonna reload the page here because I think it may have stopped loading your comments. They were coming in for a while and then they kind of stopped. There we go. Sorry for the pause. I know that probably isn't great for you guys as far as viewing. Yeah, anyway, this is the second in a series of these watercolor background posters that I want to do. I sent out my first one to my patrons today. And generally I'll get to a certain degree of finish in these videos, and then I'll go back and like adjust some things if need be, and I'll add my signature to them and make sure that they're cropped nicely before sending them out. I used to send out actual like physical postcards, but that became sort of not cost effective for me, and shipping was just taking up so much of my time for you know what was relatively like a small patron reward that I don't think anyone would have any particular reason to like treat that preciously. So I ended up switching to all digital last year. So basically, I send out these little digital postcards that are like 8 by 10, 5 by 7, 11 by 14, sometimes for larger prints. Um, and like you have the option to get prints made of them or just hang on to them for your own enjoyment or whatever, and that's the patron reward. Okay, so basically I have my line drawing done here, and I think I'm going to erase out anything that is going too far over the edge of this background. And the background's sort of jagged edged, so it doesn't need to be so precise. Like, it is like further up over here and then further down as we go to the right. And that's just sort of the nature of how watercolor works. It didn't saturate all the way to the edge. Should make this belt look like it's sticking out more. So what I'm going to do with this is switch to my eraser brush and just erase out the line over the edge of this belt, and switch back and begin to bring the edge just a little bit out from where the side of her body ends. And I'll do the same thing on this side, although I need to erase off a different layer. I'm going to get rid of some of these little clothing folds and bring it back and pull the edge down. Just a way to make it look like it's wrapped around her instead of just like a part of the dress she's wearing. So I'm going to make it sort of a monochrome color, and I think I will make her sort of a turquoisey greenish. So what I'm going to do is create another layer underneath all the line work, and for now I'm just going to draw a solid shape using the curve tool, which is kind of like the pen tool in Illustrator. So I can basically just create these anchor points that I can then manipulate into these shapes. I'm just going to completely fill this in right now. But after I'm done drawing this, I'll probably make it a transparent so you can kind of see the watercolor effects in the background behind her. I tend to do this piece by piece. I could technically do it all at once, but I like to make sure I'm getting all the edges properly aligned, and I find it easier to do that if I break it down into smaller parts. It also makes it easier to zoom in so I don't have to like hold on to the anchor point or leave it open while I move the page around. I'm going to try and align it the best I can with that background. I might come in and erase parts of it later to make that edge more jagged. I think I'll do another video in a few days, and I might ask everybody on my Patreon to submit questions again. I always like answering your guys' questions, and it makes it much easier to keep talking through these videos if I have like a specific direction in which to go. I'm not somebody who naturally rambles a lot, so it's sort of challenging for me to think of things to say as I go along. I'm kind of doing the Bob Ross thing of like just quietly describing what I'm drawing. Drawing this happy little butterfly with my anchor points. There we go. Okay, so I have the shape drawn now. I think I'll just try and bump down the opacity on it. So that looks pretty good. You can see the textures through it. Sorry if you can hear my phone going off in the background. Let's see. So I'm actually going to make this shape a gradient as well. So I'm going to select opaque, which is just a really easy way to get everything selected without having to make any layer transparent or anything like that. Maybe I'll do, I have to decide on a color. Purple, it's a little too bright. Might be better. I think what I actually want to do is instead of black, have this line work be kind of a turquoise shade. So I'm going to combine all of my line work layers by merging them. So now they're all on the same layer. And I'm going to go to Filter, Adjust, Hue, Saturation, and Lightness. So this just like brings up this little side menu with these slider bars. And I'm going to hit Colorize so I can get some brightness into this color. First thing I'm going to do is lighten it. So this just takes the black and bumps it up to this sort of middle gray. When I move that slider bar to the right, I can adjust it to wherever I want, but I think about there. And if I bump up the saturation, you can bring out, it starts out as red because that's the default, but I can slide this along to select my hue, which is going to be either this teal color or possibly purple. I like the purple, but I need to make it a little bit lighter and less saturated because that tends to just become this overwhelming like grape soda shade when it's left on its own. Make it a little bit darker so it shows up against the lower part of the background. There we go. I like that. Alright, so here is watercolor image number 2. I'm actually gonna go in and fix this little edge here using a transparent brush. So I'm going to have like a soft edged brush selected to eraser mode. And just going to kind of ever so gently go along the edge here and soften it up so it doesn't look quite so much like a digital shape that I drew. So it looks a little bit more like it naturally fits with the background. I'm going to bump the opacity down on this, which essentially makes it like partially erase the color. I think that has a nice effect. And one more thing I'm going to do, I'm going to select this background shape again. I'm actually going to add a third color to the gradient, which is not something I normally do, but I think for this, a little bit of yellow will give it a nice sort of glow. It's a little too much. Let me make sure I have my linear gradient tool selected. That's better. All right. So I think I'll call it a day here. I'll probably go back in and redraw some of these more messy lines like around the eyes. But I think you guys got a decent idea of my process for these, and it was really cool to get some comments from you. Let's see. Oh, one last comment before I go. Let's see. Aw, peace and love from Texas. Oh, that's awesome. Well, peace and love right back to you, Chico, and everybody who tuned in to watch. I will be back with another video, hopefully in the next few days. Probably one that I'm a little better prepared for in terms of having had a full night's sleep and maybe a list of questions to answer so I don't just have to ramble. But thanks as always for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.